My dad was out on his usual morning walk. Just a quiet stroll, like always. But halfway through, he suddenly collapsed, his left side gave out, and he couldn't speak. At first, we thought it was just a fall. Maybe he tripped, or was feeling a little dizzy. But something didn't feel right, and we called 911 right away. That decision, calling for help immediately, made all the difference. According to the CDC, in 2024, every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke. Every 3 minutes and 11 seconds, someone dies of stroke in this country. Every year, more than 795,000 people in the United States have a stroke. About 610,000 of these are first or new strokes. About 185,000 strokes, nearly 1 in 4, are in people who have had a previous stroke. About 87% of all strokes are ischemic strokes, in which blood flow to the brain is blocked. Stroke is a leading cause of serious long-term disability. Stroke reduces mobility in more than half of stroke survivors age 65 and older. What if we had waited? What if we had just let him rest? Stroke doesn't have to be the end if you recognize it and act in time. You're watching Golden Years Healthy Lab. This is the place where we help you live healthier, longer, and better in your golden years. Stay with us, because in the next few minutes, you'll learn how to recognize a stroke, what to do in the golden hour, and how recovery is possible. And if this message matters to you, please like, subscribe, and share. Someone you love might need this today. Imagine your brain as a busy city full of energy and constant motion. That city depends on one thing: blood flow. When a stroke happens, it's like the highway delivering oxygen and fuel to that city suddenly shuts down. Everything beyond that blockage starts to die, fast. Every minute during a stroke, nearly 2 million brain cells are lost. That's why time matters so much. There are two main types of stroke. The first is ischemic stroke, which accounts for about 87% of all strokes. It happens when a blood clot blocks a vessel carrying blood to the brain, just like a pipe clogged with debris, cutting off the supply. The second is hemorrhagic stroke, caused by a blood vessel in the brain that bursts, often due to uncontrolled high blood pressure. Think of it like a balloon that's overinflated until it pops. This type is less common, but can be even more deadly. Now let's talk about risk factors, especially for older adults. Many people feel fine. They can walk, eat, sleep, and assume everything's okay. But stroke risk builds silently over time, often from conditions we ignore. The most common risk factor is high blood pressure. Nearly 70% of people who suffer strokes have it. The pressure wears down blood vessels, making them prone to blockage or rupture. Another major risk is atrial fibrillation, or AFib, a type of irregular heartbeat. It causes blood to pool in the heart and form clots, which can travel to the brain. People with AFib are 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Then there's diabetes and high cholesterol. These conditions damage your blood vessels from the inside out, speeding up plaque buildup in arteries, including those in the brain. Add to that being overweight, physically inactive, or having obstructive sleep apnea, a sleep disorder that causes pauses in breathing and lowers oxygen levels repeatedly at night. Each of these factors alone is dangerous, but together they create the perfect storm. And here's something many people don't know. Sometimes your body gives you a warning shot. It's called a TIA, or transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke. You may feel sudden numbness in your arm, slurred speech, or dizziness that disappears in minutes. You feel fine afterward, so you brush it off. But that mini-event? It's a big red flag. According to the National Institutes of Health, 1 in 3 people who experience a TIA will have a full-blown stroke within the next year if nothing changes. The question is, will you listen to your body before it's too late? It started like any other morning. Bill, 72 years old, was watching the news with his coffee in hand. But suddenly, he dropped the remote. His left arm went limp. His mouth twisted to one side. He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out right. His wife thought maybe he was tired or his blood sugar was low, so she helped him lie down to rest. 2 hours later, he was unconscious, and it was nearly too late. So what went wrong? Time. Time went wrong. In a stroke, every minute matters. While you're waiting, the brain is dying. According to the American Heart Association, nearly 2 million brain cells die every minute during a stroke. But here's the hopeful part. If a stroke is recognized early and treated within the first 3 to 4.5 hours, the damage can often be reversed, or at least greatly reduced. That window is what doctors call the golden hour. And during that time, there's a powerful treatment available, TPA, a clot-busting medication that can restore blood flow to the brain. But here's the problem. Only 1 in 10 stroke patients get to the hospital in time to receive it. Why? Because people wait too long. They misread the signs. They hope it'll go away. And sometimes they make the fatal mistake of trying to sleep it off. So how can you tell if someone's having a stroke? There's a simple way to remember. It's called FEST. Let's break it down. F is for face. Ask the person to smile. Does one side droop? A is for arms. Ask them to raise both arms. Can they lift both equally? Or does one arm drift downward? S is for speech. Ask them to say a simple sentence. Is their speech slurred or strange? T is for time. If you see any of these signs, call 911 immediately. Every second counts. And don't forget, note the time the symptoms started because that information can save a life. Let's also clear up 5 common mistakes people make during a stroke. 1. They assume it's just fatigue or stress. 2. They give the person blood pressure meds or sugar water without knowing what's really happening. 3. They call a friend or drive themselves instead of dialing 911. 4. They wait for symptoms to go away on their own. And 5. They let the person lie down and rest, which only wastes precious time. The truth is, stroke is a medical emergency. Only trained professionals can determine the type of stroke and the right treatment. So the next time you see the signs, don't wait. Don't guess. Don't Google. Just call 911. Because stroke isn't random, it's a race against time. And what you do in first few minutes can decide whether someone survives, recovers, or is left disabled for life. After the stroke, Walter, 74 years old, couldn't sit up on his own. He couldn't speak. He couldn't even remember his wife's name. His children feared they had already lost him. But 6 months later, he was walking with a cane, speaking in slow but complete sentences, and feeding himself again. What made the difference? Starting rehab early and never giving up. According to the American Stroke Association, about 2/3 of stroke survivors can make significant functional improvements with the right rehabilitation. In a way, there's a second golden period after the stroke, the rehabilitation window. This is when the brain begins to rewire itself thanks to a process called neuroplasticity. With the right training and repetition, the brain can literally relearn how to walk, talk, and move, just like a child learning for the first time. Let's break it down. First, physical therapy. This usually starts as soon as 24 to 48 hours after the stroke, if the patient is stable. The focus: regaining strength, balance, and basic movement. Sometimes it's as simple as sitting up, shifting weight, or learning to stand again. One study published in The Lancet Neurology in 2022 found that early physical therapy nearly doubles the chance of walking independently within 3 months. Next, speech therapy. Many stroke survivors have trouble speaking or understanding language. With the help of speech-language pathologists, they can rebuild communication step by step through breath control, pronunciation exercises, and vocabulary recall. Some even use apps and AI tools to practice daily at home. But recovery isn't just physical. Emotional and psychological healing is just as important. Over 30% of stroke survivors experience depression, especially in the first few months. That's why encouragement from family and friends makes a huge difference. A kind word, a daily routine, a reminder that progress, no matter how small, still matters. And let's not forget nutrition and rest. The brain can't heal on junk fuel. What it needs is whole foods, rich in antioxidants, omega-3s, leafy greens, whole grains, and plenty of water. Cut back on salt, sugar, and saturated fats. And make sure sleep is protected, because deep sleep is when the brain repairs and rebuilds. Walter once believed that his life had ended with the stroke. But now, every morning, he walks around the garden, plays chess with his grandson, and shares morning tea with his wife. It wasn't easy, but it was possible. Because stroke recovery isn't about going back to who you were. It's about learning how to move forward with strength, support, and a new kind of courage. We've just walked through something that could save a life. We've seen how stroke begins, how quickly it strikes. We've learned the signs, the urgency, and the narrow window to act. And we've seen that recovery is possible with the right help, the right timing, and the right mindset. Here's what we hope you'll remember. Recognize early, act fast, and don't give up, because stroke is not always the end. For many, it's a turning point, a second chance, a new beginning. And that new beginning can be beautiful if you catch it in time. So talk to your loved ones. Know the signs. Get your blood pressure checked. And if something ever feels wrong, don't hesitate. Just call 911. Thanks for watching Golden Years Healthy Lab, where we help you live stronger, longer, and with more peace of mind in your golden years. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. Someone you love might need this, and you might be the reason they survive.